Hi, Gathering Church family. So good to see everybody again. I hope everyone had an enjoyable Easter. Things were different, of course. Um, for us, not only did we not go to church, we did watch church on television, like I'm sure a lot of you did, but we sort of changed up our day a little bit. We had a big breakfast and watched church, and then we took a big nap. And we decided to dye Easter eggs and decorate cookies and do our egg hunt actually later in the day, almost the evening. Um, I want to tell you a little bit about our Easter egg hunt, which is funny because I kind of threw it together, and I think my kids, the 13-year-old and the two 23-year-olds, had more fun doing what I had come up with in a matter of minutes than they would have had the weather been beautiful and us able to go outside. So what I did was I had 6 Easter eggs for each one of them. I had gotten some cash out of the bank. I had an even amount for all 3. And I rolled up the dollars and put them inside of the Easter eggs. Then what I did is I put their names on 6 of the Easter eggs. So the dollar amounts were in different denominations. And then I hid them in like 5 minutes around the house. They had the most fun. They said that I had hid them in obscure places. They had trouble finding them. Anyway, so they all gathered their eggs and we sat down on Nick and Sydney's bed, and two things that I observed. One, Jude had shaken his eggs and said, "My Easter eggs don't have anything in them." They had already gotten their Easter baskets, so they got all their candy, and he said, "My Easter eggs don't have anything in them." And then I had purposely hidden an Easter egg that didn't have any money in it, and that was to be their golden egg. So two things. Each child had, of course, an egg that was empty, and once they gave me that egg, I gave them a gift. So Nick got 2 pairs of shorts, and Jude and Sydney each got a pair of Birkenstock-looking shoes, which they were thrilled about. And it reminded me of the tomb and how the tomb was empty, and that was an incredible thing. It's actually what we base our entire Christianity on, which is, that Jesus rose from the dead. The second thing I noticed, what I thought was amusing, was that Jude said, "My Easter eggs don't have anything in it." I said, "Is that so? Have you opened them up?" "Well, no, but I can't feel anything in there." Well, once he started to open them up, he realized that indeed there was something in there, and it was something of value. We know all our kids love money, right? So, sorry, I'm not feeling well. Anyway, what I thought was amusing was that Jude thought there was nothing in there. How many times do we as Christians pass up a blessing or overlook a blessing because it doesn't look exactly like what we think it should look like, what we want it to look like? And quite frankly, usually those are the best blessings. Those blessings that come along that we're not expecting, that don't look like what we think they should look like, or are what we think they should be. So needless to say, when he did open his eggs and find his dollar bills, he was pretty happy. So Easter is now over, and so what? So what are we supposed to do? On to the next holiday? I don't think so. What we're supposed to do is the Great Commission. What is the Great Commission? So I'm going to read from Matthew 28:19 through 20, which talks about the Great Commission. It says, "Therefore go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything I have commanded you. And surely I am with you always, to the very end of the age." So Jesus gave this command to his apostles, shortly before he ascended into heaven, and it essentially outlines what Jesus expected the apostles and those who follow him to do in his absence. Um, it's interesting because for a couple of things, the original Greek command is make disciples. The Great Commission instructs us to make disciples while we're going throughout the world. The instructions to go, baptize, and teach are indirect commands, participles in the original. So how are we supposed to make disciples? By baptizing them and teaching them all that Jesus commanded. Make disciples is the primary command of the Great Commission. Going, baptizing, and teaching are the means by which we fulfill the command to make disciples. So how important do you think that is? Quite frankly, I think it's of utmost importance, and it's what we've been commanded to do. It's so important that our pastor, prior to this epidemic, set up what he called gospel conversations, which was supposed to teach us and will eventually teach us how to have those conversations. How do you tell people about Jesus? Especially people who have, we would expect in the U.S. that there would not be any people that have never heard of the name Jesus. But you might be surprised. You might be surprised that people don't understand what it means to believe in him, and he is the way, the truth, and the life. And he's our ticket to heaven. So how will you teach someone about Jesus after the Easter season is over? Quite frankly, I like to think of it as the Easter season is not over, it's continuous. And so it perpetuates. And so our charge is to go out and make disciples. I know that's hard to think about. It's hard for me to think about how do I have those conversations with people. And hopefully when we have our gospel conversations, these types of interactions will become easier for us to do. So who will you tell about Jesus this week?